In this video, we will learn about different persuasion techniques. I hope you will find them useful in your everyday life. Persuasion is to induce a person to change their beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors using a message or content. There are different consequences associated with it. So a well-meaning persuasion may promote education, but on the reverse, a manipulative persuasion may be controlling other people's mind. Persuasion theorists distinguish between two routes of persuasion. The central route employs a direct, relevant, and logical message. So now giving lecture, I am giving you a central persuasion, directly teaching you social psychology on persuasion. It is expected that my audience is motivated and will think carefully about what I am presenting and will react on the basis of my arguments. So the central route is intended to produce enduring agreement. And for the peripheral route, it relies on superficial cues that have little to do with logic. It requires the target audience who isn't thinking carefully about what I am saying. So it is commonly known as a sales technique, relying on low effort from the target audience, and often uses common sense or heuristic to trigger mindless reactions or behaviors. The two photos here illustrate the distinction between both routes of persuasion within the context of the same product, which is tobacco. The central route presents logical information about the consequences of smoking. So it presented information on smoking kills and the consequences. Then the peripheral persuasion presents more information that have nothing to do with tobacco, such as it being a lucky strike. When people uses the peripheral persuasion, it relies more on different psychological techniques, and it often takes advantage when the target isn't thinking carefully. So some trigger phrases including the word because. People are more likely to give in. And when people emphasize for a good cause, it also increases people's willingness to donate or buy things. Here is a triangle for the three characteristics of trust, which could influence persuasion. So it includes likability, authority, and honesty. So when these things are fulfilled, people are more likely to make shortcuts to informed decision-making without careful consideration. The first one is authority. Why do we trust authority figures? So people like judges, doctors, leaders, or teachers signifies status, power, and expertise. So that's why we do trust them more. However, authority figures could be wrong at times. So a person in a white coat doesn't mean that that person is really a doctor. It may be an actor. And with different expertise domain, for example, I have expertise in psychology, but I don't have expertise in economics. So if I do offer views on economics, you do need to treat it with a grain of salt. The next source of persuasion is honesty. So a trusted brand or product can become a mental shortcut for consumers. So when you see an honest brand or product, you may trigger a signal that you are in a safe territory and you are more likely to make a purchase. And the final source in the triangle is likability. So if you like a celebrity, you are more likely to trust them. So that's why celebrities are being paid to say good things about a product. But be aware that they are not experts in the product at all. What do people find attractive in faces? So evolutionary psychologists have argued that we like symmetrical faces because it is a signal of health. And using morphing studies, researchers created artificial faces by combining photos of several faces to create an average face. And the more faces including in the morphing study, the more attractive people find. And finally, the mere exposure effect. Seeing something even once makes it more appealing and likable than something that you have never seen before. So these can also persuade us to make any different behaviors. Now we will talk about how people may use different tests to manipulate trustworthiness. The first one is testimonials and celebrity endorsement. This is quite similar to the likability and the source of persuasion. So they may employ a celebrity who people already trust to help sell the product. The next strategy is to present information as education. This technique is often employed by people selling nutritional supplements or different health products or toothpaste. The next one is word of mouth. How many of you do online ratings or read them? We may turn to people around us for advice when we are unfamiliar with a shop or context. However, it's important to be aware that owners or professionals may pay people to do these different ratings for them. So some people may get a free dessert or get a discount by giving 5 stars. And the final one is the maven. So a maven is a trusted expert, or it could be a YouTuber that knows a lot of people. And they can communicate well with their audience or subscribers. So the professionals may target mavens to help spread the seed and spread their message and reach out to potential buyers. So a YouTuber that cooks may sell different cooking products, and their subscribers will be motivated to try them out. Then I will share other tricks of persuasion, and finally end with psychological reactance. This is to help yourself move away from these different tricks. First, free gifts and reciprocity. We are motivated by a sense of equity and fairness, and this is appearing in every culture. So you might make a donation to the British Museum that allows you to enter the museum for free. The next one is social proof. This is also similar to testimonials. So you are more likely to eat in a restaurant that lines up, and you will also want to follow the norm and compare your behavior or decision to others, and you are more likely to change if there is a discrepancy. For the foot in the door technique, people will start up with a small request, and then slowly will increase the request, so you are hard to decline. A door in the face would be the reverse. So they start off with an unreasonable request that is more likely to be rejected, and then try to reduce the request so that you feel compelled to obey. For the "and that's not all" technique is a variation of the door in the face. So they may ask for a high price to begin with. So this cupcake will cost $75. And then you may be hesitant to buy. So they will now offer you 2 bonus free cookies. So this option is more appealing than the option down below. And for the sunk cost trap, you are more likely to continue being persuaded until you think you have returned some of your investments. So, for example, even if you bought a new flavored coffee, but later on realize that you don't really like it, you will compelled to be drinking it after it's gone because you have already paid for it. And for me, I once bought a very hard-to-use vacuum cleaner, but because I still have the filter bags associated with it, I was unable to dump it, and I will use the vacuum cleaner until I have used all of the filter bags. For scarcity, it is the concept that people perceive things as more attractive when their availability is limited. So you are more likely to buy something when it's mentioning that it is a limited time offer. No matter how useful these different persuasion tricks are, people may develop psychological reactance. This is when persuasion may backfire. As humans, people resent from being controlled, and we will assert our freedom when we feel that others are too pushy and are trying to control us. Based on the inoculation theory, if you can be exposed to weak, persuasive messengers, you will be less vulnerable to large persuasion in the future. So the most effective technique is to accept that you are vulnerable to persuasion, and you are also eager to take part in some anti-vulnerability trainings in order to be less being easily persuaded by others. In our final unit, we will make a brief introduction about cross-cultural research.